You ought to go outside and consider what God has made. Do you know the most recent estimate is there's enough stars out there that everybody on planet Earth can own 11 trillion of them to yourself. 70 sextillion stars is the current estimate. Those are the ones we know about. We don't know about the ones that we don't know about. They asked the Hubble telescope to focus in on a dot. They thought they found a black spot in space, about the size of a grain of sand held at arm's length. The Hubble focused on that spot for 10 days, took a bunch of pictures. When they put them all together, they said, man, there are more stars there than we can count. These are ones we didn't know about before. Amazing universe God built. The Bible says, speak to the earth, and it shall teach thee. The earth is like a big magnet. Now, magnets always lose their strength. The Earth's magnet has lost 10% of its strength in the last 150 years. Well, that's normal for magnets to lose their strength, but that's interesting. That proves the Earth is not more than 25,000 years old. This is a limiting factor. Because if you go backwards in time, the magnetic field was stronger, and at some point it becomes too strong for life to exist here because of the heat generated, among other things. It also proves carbon dating can't work. Because carbon dating is directly proportional to the magnetic field. Because as the magnetic field declines, more radiation gets in, and that's what forms carbon-14. We cover more on that in video 7. But in 1949, when they first invented carbon dating, the leg of a mammoth dated 15,000 years old, but the skin from the same mammoth dated 21,000 years old. Didn't work. And it got worse as time went along. 1975, one part of a mammoth was 29,000 years old, another part's 44,000 from the same animal. Cover much more on video 7 about that, or on our website, drdino.com, if you want more on carbon dating. The textbook says, well, yes, Hovind, the magnetic field is declining, but that's because it's part of a pattern of reversals. It's getting ready to reverse. The magnetic field's declining, and it's going to flip over. Nobody has a clue how it even could reverse. There is no proof it ever has, and there are no magnetic reversals locked in the ocean floor. What we've observed for 150 years is the magnetic field is declining. That's observable science. The rest is purely theoretical. Actually, there's an interesting article in the beginning book, Walt Brown's book, about the magnetic reversal mythology here. It's a matter of stronger and weaker magnetism, not magnetic reversals. This is all part of another theory called Pangea. How many have ever heard of Pangea theory before? They say all the continents used to fit together. I get asked this question every week. Hey, Hovind, do you think all the continents used to fit together? I say, well, they didn't tell you they shrank Africa nearly 40% to make them fit, did they? I bet they didn't tell you they took out all of Mexico and Central America. Hey, señor, ¿qué pasa? ¿Dónde está Mexico, Panama, Costa Rica, Guatemala? And also, they don't tell you what I think ought to be obvious to a kindergartner. Did you know if you take the water out of the oceans, there is dirt underneath? People say, do you think the continents were connected? I say, what do you mean were? They still are. Hello? It's not hollow under the oceans, you know. It's just the low places are full of water, that's all. Duh. We cover more on the Pangea theory on videotape number 6 of our series. What a dumb theory. The Earth is spinning about 1,000 miles an hour. 1,041.6 for you technical folks at the equator. But the Earth is slowing down. It actually is slowing down enough to create a problem. Every year to year and a half, they have to add a second to the clock because the Earth is slowing down. They call it a leap second. 1990, Pensacola News Journal said, we have to add a tick to the clock because Earth's rotation is slowing down. It says regular clocks use days as a measure, which are going longer by 1,000th of a second or more daily as Earth's rotation slows. 1992, Astronomy Magazine said, Earth's rotation is slowing down. June will be 1 second longer than normal. We will have a leap second. Leap second. Did you know we have a leap second about every year to year and a half? Because the Earth is slowing down. Now, kids, this is going to be complicated, so listen carefully. The Earth is spinning, but it is slowing down. So that means that it used to be going faster. How many can figure this out now with no help? Okay. Well, now, the Earth is only 6,000 years old. This is no problem. It was going a little faster when Adam was here. He wouldn't notice. He didn't have a watch anyway, as far as we know. But some of these guys want me to believe the Earth is billions of years old. Man, if you go back billions of years, the world was spinning real fast. Your days and nights would be pretty quick. Get up, go to bed, get up, go to bed, get up, go to bed. You never get nothing done. The centrifugal force would have been enormous. The winds would have been 5,000 miles an hour from the Coriolis effect. And you think dinosaurs lived 200 million years ago? Oh, I know what happened to them. They got blown off. No, they did not live 200 million years ago. The Sahara Desert has what's called a prevailing wind pattern. The wind almost always blows the same way. This creates a problem. The hot air blows off the desert and kills the trees next door, and that area becomes desert. The process is called desertification. Well, now, they've done quite a bit of study on Sahara. That's pretty obvious it is growing. There's just no question about that. But they said, after studying it for years, they said, you know, the Sahara Desert is probably about 4,000 years old. Okay, I have no reason to doubt that, but I do have a question. If the Sahara is only 4,000 years old, why don't we have a bigger desert someplace? Why would the biggest desert on earth be less than 4,000 years old? Well, I have a theory about that. Now here's my theory. I believe about 6,000 years ago, God created everything. 4,400 years ago, there was a flood. It's pretty hard to have a desert under a flood. Right? So the desert couldn't start growing until the flood water went down. So I predict, based on the Bible, the biggest desert in the world will be less than 4,400 years old. It is. Wow. Maybe the Bible's right. Did you know when they drill into the ground, sometimes they hit oil? The oil's oftentimes under incredible pressure, like 20,000 pounds per square inch. It'll come squirting up out of the ground, poof, like a big zit. 20,000 psi. Well, the guys who study this problem say, you know, the oil has some pressure simply because of the rocks on top of it. It's called the overlying weight of the rock, the overburden. That produces pressure. But the oil pressure is greater than the weight of overbearing rock. So this should have cracked the rock and equalized the pressure in less than 10,000 years. Okay, well, if all that's true, then I have a question. Why do we still have oil pressure? Actually, where did the oil come from? Well, most scientists agree, and I agree with them, that oil comes from organisms that are squished. They're changed by heat and pressure into oil. Clear back in 1970, they learned how to make oil in 30 minutes, 20 or 30 minutes in the laboratory. In 1996, they set up a factory in Australia to turn sewage sludge into oil in 30 minutes. They opened up a factory in Texas a couple years ago, can turn almost anything to oil. They're taking turkey guts and turning it into oil with heat and pressure. Check it out, Discover Magazine, May of 2003. Sinclair Gas Company has the dinosaur as their logo. They say dinosaurs turn to oil. Yes, boys and girls, these dinosaurs mellowed for 80 million years. I don't think so. I have a theory about the oil. Here's my theory. I believe about 6,000 years ago, God made everything. 4,400 years ago, there was a flood. In that flood, lots of critters and people drowned. And they got covered up by the gravel and the rocks and the mud and the sand, and it got pretty heavy after a while, and it squished them into oil.